Namaste and welcome to the Love Your Body podcast. I'm Dana Smith, author of Yes, Yoga Has Curves. It's been a little while since my last podcast, but I am happy to be back and posting consistently. I have the honor and pleasure of interviewing Shionta Pumphrey, awesome, beautiful, spirited yogini, all around beautiful sister. Shionta, thank you so much for agreeing to allow me to interview you today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll get right into it. And guys, I'm just going to make mention, just in case stuff starts to skip and get a little crazy. Mercury's in retrograde. Enough said. So Shionta, tell us how your yoga journey began.
So my yoga journey began in 2010. I was a full-time nurse at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was invited by one of my colleagues to a yoga studio. And I was in a deep transition with leaving the church. So I was apprehensive about trying yoga because I associated what I saw online, on television, with it being a religion, honestly. So he begged and begged for me to just give it a shot, give it a try. Cause I did, I think I may have been verbalizing subjective experiences with being exhausted and, just trying, I needed something to release the stressors in my life. And long story short, I finally took him up on his offer and went to a studio in Columbia, Maryland. It was a Bikram yoga studio. I did not know what Bikram was. I didn't know what to expect. I went in and gave it a shot. First class, of course, I'm looking around. I'm like, why is everyone enjoying this hot room right now? It's blazing hot, and I'm exhausted again. So anyway, the owner of the studio invited me back. She's like, come back for a week for free and take advantage of all the different classes we offer here. So I did, and honestly, the second time I came back, my cycle started in the middle of class. And I tried to get her attention because I didn't want to interrupt class by leaving. And at this point, I had a baggy t-shirt, baggy shorts, nothing sexy about leggings and sports bras and all that. I just didn't start off like that, But anyway, she wouldn't come over. So I rolled my mat up very quietly and left class and never came back. And I actually did not step foot in another yoga studio for 2 years.
Wow. I mean, I can just imagine how traumatizing that could have been. And, and as a teacher, a yoga teacher, one thing that I always say is have your mama eyes on. You have to keep your eyes on everyone because everyone has different experiences. And there are some help me looks that I'm blessed enough to be able to see. So if you are a yoga teacher, new or seasoned, always make sure to have your mama eyes on because you never know what's going on. And I wanted to go back for a moment, Shionta. I had the same misconception about yoga when I first started. I thought it was a religion, and at the time I said, I am not about to convert, and I didn't want to go to any church of yoga and learn a new language and all those things. But I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions, that yoga is a religion. And it's really, would you agree, it is a science. It's an art to help to align us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what challenges did you face in your yoga practice, and do you have any challenges to practicing now?
So in the beginning, so in that entire transition, I was moving to Florida. Just wanted a new environment, scenery. I wanted it all. And I can remember 3 things in particular, that feeling of exhaustion, still working long hours up until I actually left to go to Florida. I was working 48, 60-hour weeks. So that would leave me like 2 or 3 days to just do what I wanted. And one of those days I was sleeping. So I made up in my mind when I applied for positions in Florida that I needed a status of full-time with benefits, but only working 3 days. And so the first hospital I applied for, that's what they granted. And, I fix that quickly, you know? So when moving there, I was like, okay, I'll have 4 days to practice. I'll have 4 days to just kind of chill out and relax a little bit. Another challenge was weight gain. I was typically on the smaller frame side, was an athlete, ran, played basketball 4 or 5. And then within 3 years, I was a size 10. I'd gained about 43 pounds. I was at my max weight of 174 pounds, which was new for me. I actually had bad cholesterol. Yes, all this happened.
Wow.
I, attempted to climb stairs and would be out of breath after like 2 flights. Again, just sleeping all the time. That was just my way of dealing with stress. And I was eating any and everything that I triggered to have. So another challenge was when I went to Florida, in the first studio that I stepped foot in after 2 years, there was a young lady at the front desk, and she wasn't very pleasant. She didn't like, hi, how are you doing? Welcome to. Her first comment to me was, this is going to be hard, right? So I had that moment of, okay, do I run out of the door, go in my car and cry because she made me feel bad? Or do I go inside of this door and actually go into class, set the intention, and rock this class out? So I actually told her to have a wonderful day, have a great day. And I went into class and I rocked the class.
Those words exactly.
That's what I did to work through that. So with the weight gain, I had a lot of sisters around me, supportive, reflected me. We ran together. We moved together. I worked out. They were great. They were a great support in motivating me, getting me back on the mat. Whether I was in the house or deciding to go to a studio, the motivation was there again. And most of the women that I ran with during that early part of time I was in Florida were doctors, wellness providers, yoga teachers, facilitators in that realm. And they started to share their experiences with me, which was part of the segue to Shades of Health LLC, my business. So, yeah.
And, I think it's amazing. And for those watching, I believe that every size is a beautiful size. But when it comes for health, no one can look at someone and say they're healthy or not healthy because they're bigger or they're smaller.
Right.
But you said that there was a way that you were feeling. And when our body is off, instead of, just looking outside, tune in, because your body will tell you if it's off. So exhaustion being a telltale sign, the breath, which, in yoga is really key, not being able to maintain a healthy breath quality. So it's just really all about, okay, for me, it's like, okay, getting oversized. Well, how do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? And it's all about doing what you need to do to feel good. And I love the fact that you had a sister circle around you. And I think that's important for anyone and for brothers that want to make changes, is having a circle of people that will work with you, that have similar goals, and that can also hold you accountable. Yeah. And movement is really key. Movement is key in life. So no matter what your size or your age, find a circle, find friends to just get up and get moving. And then look for that feeling. And how long would you say it took you to feel better, to feel more energetic, to just say, yes, I'm on the right path?
For me, it was very quickly, because I was I was working intensely, sometimes 2 times a day. But I would say after about 4.5, 5 months, I started feeling like Shionta again. So it was a little less than a year that I started feeling better.
Now, what advice will you give for someone that is maybe new to movement? I mean, it's great that you have this medical background. So if you have a student that says that, they're disconnected from their body, they have pain in their body, what advice would you give them to start?
So for me, practicing for myself, I want to feel safe, and I always want my students to feel safe. That is so big for me, and that's what I always hope that people take away from my class, is that they felt safe in my class. So something that I've been incorporating into helping people that are not in their body is just simple touch. And you can do this with me right now. You can take your right hand over your left hand and just start to apply this gentle pressure and move your hands up and through your arms, all the way up through shoulders, you know, and then bring that pressure back down and then switch sides and go all the way up to the other side. I think for me, that's helped. You're like, yeah, that feels good.
I
Right?
like that. It's like a connection. It's
Yeah.
just really, really good.
Like a little tool, right? It's like Dana collaborating with you and figuring out what works best for you right now in that moment, because every day is going to be different. And I work with a lot of different people. Okay. Yes. With my medical background, I work with the population of people that have cancer, you know, they have anxiety and depression, but I also have this background where I work with people that have, you know, suffered some form of trauma, you know, and I don't want to intrude if my touch to your touch feels uncomfortable. So that's something that I do, especially when I'm working with someone new that I don't even really know, to kind of get a feel of, you know, are they in their body?
Yeah.
And that will create some openings to explore in the heart and the mind and whatever else is to come. So yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, I love it. And I'm going to do that like all day.
And I think it's good too, you know, when you said like we know when we feel out of alignment in our body as women, you know, I can't speak to having children, you know, but you can, you know. So I think like if you're sitting on your couch like I'm doing right now, and just get back in there.
Yeah.
What's tender?
Yeah.
What feels good, you know? And do that all over, especially like in your lung base, you know, feel them expand all the way down to your feet.
And it's about that connection.
Yeah.
I believe that one of the greatest energies that exists is love.
Mm-hmm.
Love is the cure-all for everything, I feel. How do you define self-love?
Self-love. I could say, you know, the spiritual bath, the shower in the morning, and, you know, my work in the altar and all these different things. But self-love for me is identifying and exploring my breath. Our life force, my life force. And, you know, I've had this conversation with many people and they're like, yeah, I'm breathing, I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling, you know. And I'm like, real quick. I'm like, what triggers that rhythm to change? Who triggers that rhythm to change? What is happening in your surrounding? Like, what energy is being held in the couch you're sitting on? You know, the flowers you keep in your house, all of these things. So for me, it's really being aware of my breath, my life force. I shared this with a group of women that I've been doing training with. I'm in my advanced yoga teacher training. And as a nurse, I have seen death. I have felt death under my hands and compressing in severe respiratory situations. But the rhythm of my breath is not in panic when these things are happening. In fact, the rhythm of my breath is more chill. I'm thinking methodically. I'm, you know, thinking skillfully what has to happen here. In light of, you know, okay, if this person doesn't make it, that's just the flow of life for that person, and that's not for me to decide.
Wow.
I know, when you think about that, right?
That's profound. Yeah, wow. I'm definitely going to sit with that. It's amazing just to be able to do that. How does your yoga practice help you to cultivate that energy?
So, whole body. When I started, I would say my practice was very physical. Look what I can do, guys. It was very physical for me. I'm very challenging. I like challenges, and I was an athlete, so I like to win. So that's what it was for me. But where I am right now with my practice and cultivating that, like, breath and movement, my practices aren't very long anymore. They're not like a whole hour on the mat. I may take 30 minutes on the mat and work through my down dog, bend my knees a little bit, and all right, let's take that modification or refinement off the mat, like my practice off the mat. Maybe
that's a beautiful thing. Summer, you don't have to have that full hour complicated vinyasa and all the tricks and things. It can be very simple. And I've been telling my students that for years.
Yeah.
And those simple things can be very powerful.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is. And, you know, the mental really, like, even when I'm on the mat, it's what tendencies do I have? I would say lately it's been difficult for me to exhale a little bit more because I'm holding on to, like, there's some deep rooted tissues, you know, things in my tissues right now that are coming up because I am exploring these tendencies. I'm exploring the breath. I'm, you know, identifying with these things. So collaborating with Shionta. I know a lot of people are like, well, collaboration means to join forces, team up. But, you know, I'm teaming up with me right now. I am trying to, like, figure out, okay, I have all these tools. When do I use these tools?
Right.
And figuring out, you know, what works for me right now, presently. You know, the getting upside down and balancing on my arms, can I do it? Yeah, absolutely. But is that like my first go-to now? Nope, I'm sitting down. Right. You know, so that the yoga practice for me has helped cultivate that whole breath, just tapping into the other components. And that's why every now and then you'll see me post yoga, also yoga. You know, the concept, like that thought of, okay, I'm sitting and journaling with this little girl is just as much as yoga as it is if I'm shifting or adjusting upside down, you know? So that's the practice that I'm having right now with myself.
Thank you. And I always say, is so many things about yoga people don't know. It's not just on that rubber mat. Yeah. It's not just on that mat. You carry your yoga with you. Your yoga is your breath. Your yoga is how you're showing up. And it does not always have to be the asana. There's so many aspects of yoga. I read every day, and I said sometimes that's my yoga because it feeds me. Yes. It really feeds me. So Shionta, tell us, you know, do you have a class? How can people find you? Give us all of your information so our listeners can stay connected with you.
So I teach in the hospital, and I teach at Northside Hospital in Atlanta. There's two components to that. One is, yes, very much privately with my patients, and that's regulated by what is in need in that moment with them right then and there in that private room. I also have a session with my team members, and we call it the Oasis, and it's an hour of decompressing from the day. And I partner with the spiritual health education group. We have chaplains. We also have social workers that have, like, tapped into guided meditation, all these different things. So we offer it twice a month, 1 hour, and I typically do guided meditation and also a lot of chair yoga. I've tapped into that. So that's in the hospital. I usually do that on the 4th Wednesday every month. And then I also teach in my home studio in Sandy Springs. You can find out more information about that at www.shadesofhealth.life. And a lot of times the team members that can't make the Oasis, they come to my home studio with specific goals in mind, and some that just, like, I don't know, I'm just here. So I also have worked in wellness centers, local studios, and one of my favorites lately, and I think it's because it kind of brings me back to home, is working in gyms, but specifically gyms for women only. You know, it really is, like, so empowering to see women move with Zumba and Pilates and all these other things. And then they're like, oh, save me, please, with the Shavasana, you know, whatever. So that's been exciting to tap back into. But yeah, like, I always encourage people, and don't be afraid. I will share and disclose with you, you know, as much as I want. And I have a skillful way of doing that. So email me, shadesofhealth13@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram, shades_of_health. And I also have a Facebook page, Shades of Health, LLC. And every Wednesday so far on my private page. So if you're my friend on Facebook, I've been doing, like, a wellness Wednesday segment. It's very conversational. It's based off of questions that people have emailed me. So That's how you can find it.
And I will make sure that I enter all of that into the description.
Okay.
And before we go, I need for you to complete this sentence.
Okay.
I love my curves because
they're pieces of me. Shionta Pumphrey.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much, Shionta, for honoring me with your time this afternoon. And yay, we got through the recording. So guys, our second go round, because you know, the computer was acting a little bit just a little bit funny. But if you do not have the book, make sure you get your copy of Yes, Yoga Has Curves on Amazon.com. We have a volume 2. You can pick that up at www.yesyogahascurves on Facebook and Instagram under Yes Yoga Has Curves. Have a beautiful, blessed day, Mercury retrograde. And until the next time, be well. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.